one thought that we had a shot at it working because of the business model and because of where we were and all these other things. And then we went out and we tried to get press. It's the first free advertising that you can get as a company when you're launching really early. And early in your life, people want to say good things about you because everyone's kind of rooting for the underdog. It's like once you start to find a little success, I think for the most part, reporting can turn negative. But at that point in your life, everyone wants to say positive things.
We got the opportunity and was on ABC Nightly News, and that was just kind of like, hey, let's spin up all the servers, let's kind of get ready.
And it was on national news, and we were watching, and all of a sudden it came on. They started talking about us a little bit, and you just see the website start blowing up.
That count that typically was at like 100, maybe, not even, right, on average, probably like something like 40.
From 3 visitors to 7 to 15, which is something we had never seen, to 50 to 100 to 300 to 500.
1,000 and like 5,000. I forget where it got to, and ultimately the site just crashed.
Down to 0 because our servers couldn't take it and we weren't ready for that traffic load. And everyone just started jumping up and down and hugging each other. We couldn't even imagine that kind of notoriety. We couldn't even imagine that many people choosing to go check out our little thing that we had built.
Back when we started, we built our entire website. It was all in one big project.
We're an e-commerce business. You have to build the e-commerce experience before you have to worry about like operations.
Running the homepage, making sure those pieces are still on there. I remember doing this one time. So we had search tiles where we were basically, you'd have a certain amount of vehicles, and like back in the day, we didn't have that many cars. And so if you ran out of cars within the search page, like we had to create a tile at the end that basically was like, new cars are coming soon. And I remember with like Ernie and Ryan Keaton standing over my shoulder, how does that look? Does that sound good? It's like all those little pieces of like working really closely with those two guys.
Could actually say like, hey, I built this piece of the site, and it became a lot more rewarding to feel like I was actually really contributing to the building of this company.
We've done the wrong thing so many times that we now have eliminated all past but the correct way to do things. So
all you have to do is be around some of the senior leadership to know this thing's gonna fly. You just know it is. It has to.
Before our first cars actually came through, we were testing on sample cars that were available. And by the time our car 01 came rolling through, we were ready and excited. All of us just kind of followed it through the whole photo process, and we're just kind of marveling over like, oh my God, it's here, this is the first car, we're photographing it, those pictures look so good.
I started before the site had launched. We didn't know exactly what the site was going to display, so we started kind of writing out on index cards questions that we could quiz each other. Then we were able to dive into some mock calls, so we had some drive time employees calling in and trying to stump us, which usually they did.
Back then, when we first started, we were in a tiny little corner in Drive Time's corporate office. We were selling like 30 cars a month, which is crazy because we probably sell that in 5 minutes. It felt truly like a family. We would be on the phones talking to customers, and Ernie's walking by our desk like, how did that go? Like, what did the customer think? And it was so fun. It was great energy.
I think that sort of permeated among us, and that sort of energy is very addictive. And suddenly you just attract like-minded people.
That first piece of the process where we needed to hire that first advocate, I was so confident going into that because I'd done recruiting before and started like reaching out to people, calling people, emailing people. I got hung up on several times and told I don't want to sell used cars. And so I was like really defeated. I was like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? At the time we had this video, I don't know if you've seen it, but it is Ernie and Ben like singing to Snow Patrol, like chasing cars. And so I put that in the body of the email. I like had all this like interesting stuff in the email, and I started sending that out. That like started to work, and I started getting responses and people interested because they kind of saw our culture.
The very first car that we sold, or I thought we sold, was actually a test purchase, which was a huge bummer because I called Ernie driving back from Winder, Georgia, and I was pumped up. And then he like very, very softly told me that no, that was just a test purchase and that's not real.
Special memory is our first sale. They've uploaded documents, they're doing this, they scheduled delivery, and it was just like, holy cow, like someone actually did this thing. But yeah, Ernie and I flew a red eye out to Atlanta, and Ben picked us up, and we basically had our Carvana gear on with our blue pants, and we showed up to this person's delivery.
Maybe most notably, we all wore tight blue pants for that delivery that I don't think any of us could still fit into. We actually got the customer a cool Florida State helmet that was signed because he was a Florida State fan. It was kind of the beginning of how we're always trying to like personalize some of these deliveries and try to do something special.
My personal first car that I sold, it was special. I still remember it till today. He wanted a minivan, and he was like dead set on a silver minivan. had to have DVD players because his kids always like to watch movies. We ended up getting him through the purchase process, and I remember getting off that phone call and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna work. Like, people are gonna buy into this. And it was an accomplishment because I was able to convince somebody to take a chance on us.
It was just so meaningful for us, you know. We knew every customer by name. We learned about people's pets, and we learned about like what they love so that we could put prizes in the vehicle and special gifts for them in the vehicle. That's not something they were used to receiving at a dealership or from a dealership. We knew the story on why they wanted that vehicle, why they chose that vehicle.
We learned a lot by interacting with the customers, and early on they wanted us to stay and have lunch and have dinner and pick our brains, and we're like, we gotta go do work. I got cars to buy, but it was, you know, we got a warm reception from the first market here in Atlanta.